Hello, hello, and welcome to our show, Conversations with Lady T, where we bring guests on our show to talk about issues and topics that matter. Today, this is a special segment for Optimum Health, a Lifetime Journey. This is actually week 11. Can you believe it already? We are so excited to have this wonderful guest, one of my dearest friends. I love her so much. She is
Likewise.
seriously an angel sent from God above. So I'm happy to have her here today to talk about the importance of mental health for overall wellness. So, Faith, just tell us, a little bit about yourself first, and then, what it is that is important about mental health.
Okay, well, of course, I'm so happy to be here.
Yes.
Oh my God. I feel like I'm on the other side of the table today. Instead of interviewing, I'm being interviewed, so that's great.
Yes.
So thank you so much for having me, Sharon.
Yes.
And you're looking great, girl.
Oh, thank you. You too, girl.
Yes, so a little bit about me.
Yes.
I have worked in the mental health field for many years, too long to be mentioned. And mental health is something that many people do not want to talk about for many reasons, mainly the stigma that's associated with it. But it's such a crucial part of our lives, without our minds, we're like nothing,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And yet still that is the one thing that people don't want to talk
Right.
about. If they had a broken ankle, God forbid not, or arm or whatever, people would go directly to the doctor.
Right.
But if they're experiencing some symptoms of maybe depression, etc., that's one thing people are like, I'm not crazy,
Yeah,
I ain't going
yeah,
nowhere,
yeah.
right? But I'm so glad that you're talking about this because
Yeah.
it impacts every aspect of our
It
lives.
does. And I say that, for me, when it comes to overall health, I think God comes 1st. And then I think the mind. Mental health is crucial to everything else because once you're right here, well, for me, once you're right with God, right here in the mind, everything else is going to flow.
Just fall into place.
So I really thought it was very critical, and I would have had her much earlier because I really wanted to talk about mental health after I talked about the spirituality, but we couldn't get you because you're so busy. But I'm just so glad that you're here now, and I'm going to stop for a second because I did forget one thing, to pour some tea. So today I have an oolong tea.
Oh, wow.
And these little teacups come all the way from China. My sister and her husband went there for I guess a spiritual meeting or something like that. So, cheers.
Thank you to good health
Good
and mental health.
Mental health, yes.
Delicious as usual.
Yes, it is. Very nice. Yes.
Yes. So, what do you want us to talk about? How do you want to approach this?
Well, basically, I just want people to understand how critical it is for us to have mental wellness. And I think a lot of times, especially in our culture, the black race, we don't want to talk about mental issues. It's like almost like a bad word in our culture, and if you talk about it, people don't want to listen, or everything is like in the closet. And I think it's so important that we have to really talk about our issues. So much starts here, whether it's depression or too much anxiety or whatever, or too much stress. All those things are part of the mind.
Right.
So if you can just kind of tell us from your experience, what are some of the things that people need to do, or if there's any kind of signs that they should look out for to know that they need to go to speak to someone in terms of their mental health.
Thank you so much. I mean, I think on my show, people, I say I love statistics. Everybody know I love statistics. And I think that to frame this in terms of how serious it is, I think it's best if I kind of give you some statistics. In the United States, in any 1 year, 1 in 4 adults have a mental health diagnosis.
Wow. That's huge. Wow.
Another thing, that's huge, right? But this is the big one, right? Drum roll. Within the United States, between when someone start experiencing symptoms, they're feeling that something is not going well, and when they actually go for help, guess how many years that is?
How long?
No, I'm asking you to guess.
Oh. 5 years.
Double that.
Wow. Wow.
10
years.
10 years between
That's a long-
experiencing symptoms
Wow.
and going for help.
Wow. Now, to me, that seems like a hard thing to then, how do you fix that after 10 years? Because every year that goes by is getting worse and worse. So is it hard to then try to reverse that for people?
And that's one of the key things. What studies show is that the longer someone goes without getting help, the worse the prognosis is in the long run.
Wow.
So the earlier you get help, the better the prognosis is in the long run.
Right.
But again, let's talk about why people aren't going for help. There are a number of different reasons. One is that sometimes people don't even know that they're having a challenge because it's their normal. You know, when something is your normal, you don't know something is wrong, right? Or that you need help. I don't like using the word something is wrong because nothing is wrong with you. It's an illness. And I think that is where the stigma comes in because of the shame that something is wrong with me. It's not something that somebody goes out and say, oh, I'm going to get mental illness today. We don't go out and say, oh, we're going to go and try to get diabetes or anything like that. It's something that happens to us. And I think that's one of the key things that is so important to realize that it's an illness, right? And often when we talk about mental illness, when I say mental illness, what comes to your mind? What do you envision in your mind?
Well, I personally might not think this, but I think the norm is like, oh, is that person crazy? You know, I think it's just more people think, is that person crazy?
Exactly. And they have a picture of someone who is disheveled and all of these other, you know, this image that someone who may be homeless, and maybe that's the case, and nothing. And that's part of that. Sometimes the impact of what the illness has on someone's life, but so often, the top 3 mental illnesses in the United States are. Guess I'm giving you guess. I'm asking everyone to guess. What do you think the first one? One of them is. Just give me one of them.
The reasons for
there are 3 main mental health diagnoses.
Oh, schizophrenia.
That's what most people think.
Okay.
But the 3 top are depression.
Oh, okay,
anxiety. And substance use. Most of the time, people don't know that substance use is a mental health disorder, right?
Wow.
Schizophrenia is only 0.3 to 0.7% of the individuals in the United States have schizophrenia.
Okay, so depression is that number 1?
Yes, depression and anxiety is number 1. And they usually go hand in hand. People who have anxiety usually have depression and vice versa. So it's and all of these, most of these disorders can be treated with medication as well as with talk therapy. You know, seeing a clinician or someone to speak with about what's happening in your life. But so often we shun away from it.
Right, that's true. That's true. Now, I'm going to ask you this. I mean, I don't know if this is part of your expertise. I know you talked about medicine, but of course, me being trying to be healthier and not use a lot of prescription drugs. Do you know if food would be something that something that they would use to help them to stop being? Because I think sometimes food triggers some of our mental disease and stuff like that as well.
That's not my area of expertise, but I know for a fact like sugar in particular is a big trigger in terms of like depression. So what we put in our bodies have a significant impact on our mental wellness.
It does. I was doing some online training, and I think it's called like biohacking your brain, and it talks about that, not just sugar, because they say sugar it's worse than doing cocaine.
I know.
It's very addictive. And a lot of times what we eat, you know, people don't realize it's not, you know, people think, oh, I can eat this today and, excuse the expression, poop it out tomorrow. But a lot of time it's breaking down and it's going into your cell, it's going into your blood, and the blood is flowing into your brain. So the saying, you know, what you eat, it goes into the brain as well. So vice versa, if your brain is not right, the body's not going to be right, and vice versa, if the body's not right, the brain is not going to be right. So I think it's important for people to know it is also about what you eat that's going to make a difference. But getting help is crucial.
That is the big part. And one of the key things is educating people about mental illness, mental wellness. And one of the things that is happening in our country today, or all over the world, I must say, is this initiative that's called mental health first aid.
Okay.
So mental health first aid is, well, let's take a step back.
Okay.
If you're in a restaurant and someone is choking, even if you don't have CPR training, do you have an idea what to do to help that person?
Yeah. So one, you can hit them on the back, or you can maybe if you know how to do the high, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you're going to take some kind of initiative.
Oh, that's the key piece. You're going to take some form of initiative, right? You're still in that same restaurant, and someone is having some signs, some symptoms of their mental illness or mental that something is happening with them emotionally. What do people do?
Most people ignore it, or they look at them like they're crazy.
Okay, or go the other way.
Or they go the other way. That's true. That's very true.
Right, and it's not that these people are bad people.
Right.
It's because we do not know how to deal with the situation. So what mental health first aid does is actually teach the lay person who do not have a mental health training how to identify and also provide support to someone who is developing a mental health illness, a mental health challenge, or who is in crisis. So you're providing support until professional help gets there. We're not there training you that you're going to be a psychiatrist tomorrow morning. Right, exactly. But we teach you the basic. What do you do in terms of intervening until professional help gets there? And this initiative started out in Australia in 2007. Hope my numbers, my dates are not off. Forgive me if they are, because I don't have my notes in front of me. But it has spread throughout the world, and it's in the United States. So far, last statistics I heard, over 2 million people in the United States have been trained, and it's growing each.
So are they training any and everybody?
Anyone, everyone. So we have different organizations are getting grants. Some organizations, people go in and get paid, get trained by paying for them, for the training, because sometimes they can get continuing education credits from that. But it's training everyone. Lay persons, people who parents, who may have children, or just individuals who maybe we all, as I said, 1 in 4.
Right, that's huge.
So all of us may say we don't know someone who has a mental illness. We do. We know, but we know someone, but maybe because the person hasn't told us, we're not conscious of it.
Right. And then sometimes I know for me, sometimes I see people that I know that there's something wrong, but then I think what it is with people is, well, how do I approach it? Because you don't want to say something to someone and they think, oh, she thinks I'm crazy. So I think that's also a problem why people don't help, because they don't want to offend people. Because some people might get offended. I mean, I'm a kind of person, I want people to tell me if something is wrong, but everybody is not like that. So I think it's learning how to approach people to say, hey, do you need someone to talk to, or some way to say to them you need help. But nobody wants. A lot of people don't want to hear that you need help.
And that's the most important thing that you just said. It's the approach.
Yes.
It's the approach. It's not and language. One of the key things we know is language is very important, right? And that's what this is all about. The training teaches individuals how to approach someone, what to say, and what are some of we have the ALGE action plan that actually each person, it talks you through what are the steps in terms of providing supports to someone. So first one is assessing for risk of suicide or harm. Because suicide is real.
It's real and it's huge.
It's huge.
You think, I guess back in the day I used to think more it's worrying about kids, but it's so many adults that have been doing that. And it's like, oh my gosh, people that you wouldn't even think. Because we see from the outside, oh, this person, whether they are celebrities and they have this great life in front of the camera, we don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
And so when you hear that someone that's, a celebrity killing themselves, you're like, wow. And I think it impacts you. And then other people, there's so many people that are doing it.
Daily on daily.
Right. Yeah, it's
last
crazy.
week I don't remember where I was last week, and someone shared that a 7-year-old child completed suicide.
Wow.
7 years old because of bullying. And she wrote a note to her parents saying why she did that.
That's terrible.
That's horrible.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
So that's why this training is so critical.
Look, I need to sign up. I need to sign up, and I'm going to say to people, if anyone is interested, please reach out to Faith Saunders. She's on Facebook as well. She's under Faith Saunders, and she also is under what
keeps it discovering your future.
Discovering New Future. So, or if anybody wants to reach out to me, and I can give you her number, please reach out to us because it is critical. We are really wanting people to be healthy, and if there's other people out there that have some kind of mental illness and you see it and they don't know, reach out to Faith. She has so much experience. That's her field of expertise, so she can kind of talk to you about certain things too. So please reach out to us, and if you have any questions, we will look at it and we'll definitely be answering some of your questions, and we look forward to some of the comments out there as well. So
yes, so it's very important in terms of just having the approach, and sometimes people don't want to hear at this time, but remember, we're planting seeds. It's like in everything that we do in our lives, sometimes we're just planting seeds, and when the person is ready, they may feel safe enough to come to us and say, can you help me, right?
But wouldn't you still suggest though that person might be planting seeds, but if you feel in your heart that someone is at risk of suicide, I don't feel like I don't have time for the seed.
Right.
You know what I mean? So what do you do in that situation if you really see that someone is at the edge of suicide? Like, what would you recommend? Because that's the scariest thing to...
That's the scariest thing.
What I mean?
And that's one of the other things that we talk about. Asking someone if they're thinking of killing themselves is one of the hardest things people are fearful to do it. In the class, we even do an activity where we talk about it and people turn to each other just to practice saying it, and people just like, I just can't ask someone that. But you're saving a life. There's a myth that if you ask someone if they're thinking of killing themselves, you're planting the seed in them. You're not.
No,
that just asking the question can actually help that person to feel some relief that somebody understand what they're going through.
And I have had to do that to one of my close family members. I literally looked them, I had to stop them and say, are you thinking? I mean, it was hard to do it, but I was like, you know what, let me ask, because I was fearful. I love this person. I'm like, and they said no. So I was like, I felt a bit of relief, but you really have to ask the question. I mean, you can't, for me, it's like, I can't spare your feelings when it's something so critical that you can be dead tomorrow because I didn't ask you that question.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I don't want that on my conscience.
Exactly. And, you're so right about it, is that I would prefer if somebody's angry with me because I asked them that question, then I didn't ask the question, and I heard that this person is not here. And again, there's no guarantee that if you ask the question, the person's going to be honest with you and say, this is what I'm feeling, but at least you're putting it out there that I'm noticing that you're not well and I'm concerned about you.
Because
that's what it boils
down to. Once you say that to them, it could spark and say, heck, I didn't realize that people can see this. Because they're so wrapped up into their grief that they're not realizing that it's showing.
Exactly.
So, I mean, people, if you see it, because, I mean, one of my cousins, her daughter killed herself, and it was like, I was shocked. I mean, I haven't seen her daughter for many, many years. From when she was a kid, but just to hear that, my cousin's daughter did that, I was like devastated. This is such a devastating topic, and definitely we can talk about that longer than 30 minutes, but it's definitely something that needs to be spoken about, because mental hellness, it is like hellness if you can't get it, but wellness is so critical to our overall health.
It is so critical, and it's just, if we could just step back and see our brain as an organ. So it's similar to how we see our heart, the other organs, then the shame is not there anymore. Hopefully that take away the shame that this is an organ, it needs, and one of the major organs in our bodies, going, right? And this, as all other aspects of our body, needs care.
It does.
Needs care.
It needs a lot of care. Sleep is part of it. Sleep deprivation can help, with having health in your mind. Exercise, all of those things, because you need the oxygen to go through the brain, right? Again, eating properly, drinking properly, all of those things.
Sharon, you got my notes. And we didn't talk, right?
We didn't talk, but it's just me researching,
right? Because I wanted to share, because that's one of the things that, that we, I do a workshop on how well does your wheel turn. And basically, it's talking about the 8 dimensions of wellness. Studies show that there are 8 areas in our lives that if we pay attention to them, then we'll live a more balanced and healthy life. And the 8 components are, so because I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to, is emotional wellness. The other one is environmental wellness, how where we live, how we're existing in our environment, because our environment has an impact on our well-being also. There is intellectual wellness. One of the things that we're hearing now is that Alzheimer's is similar to the new diabetes.
Yes, it is. It is for sure.
And that's sad, right?
It is.
There's occupational wellness. How many of us are going to work each morning? Say Sunday afternoon comes, we think tomorrow is Monday.
God, I gotta go to work.
And we get into this deep depression, and we get so anxious, etc., because we do not love what we do, and it is causing us so much stress.
And stress kills.
Exactly.
Kills everything, the mind, the body, the spirit.
Exactly. Exactly. So occupational wellness is so important also.
Very important.
There is also physical wellness, of course, which you were referring to in terms of the exercising, the sleeping, etc., going to our annual checkups. So many of us, that goes into that also, taking care of our bodies, The other one is, I'm just jumping through my notes, social well-being, having a social network,
and I think the social network is good, but it's having the right people in your social network. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, you have to get rid of, you got to declutter.
Exactly.
People that don't serve you.
Exactly.
You got to get rid of them.
Yeah.
I right now, my circle is getting smaller and smaller. And my aunt always said, if you have one good friend in life, that's all you need. So if you can just get rid of people that are negative, that they don't really support you to help you, the whole mind, body, and spirit, it's so critical.
Time to move on. People come into your life, they say, for a reason, a season, and a lifetime, right? And it's okay. Sometimes their season has come and it's gone. And it's okay,
It is.
So, and then you just move on. And then, as again, the lifetime, you have individuals who are in your life forever, like for you. Like us, our friendships.
Yes.
So that's important. And the other aspect is spiritual and financial.
Those are 2 big ones.
Spiritual
for me is the biggest, and then financial. Because if you don't have the money for necessities, man, you feel like a failure. You feel it's the worst thing to have to want money to pay a bill. And we're talking about bills that are critical. The roof over your head, the food, your car, those things are critical. And if people don't have the finances for that,
let's take that one step further. So you don't have the finances for that. Does that impact your physical wellness?
Yeah.
You can't eat properly,
No, you can't.
right? You're possibly not sleeping well because you're worrying about how am I going to pay the bills. Does it impact your emotional wellness? Of course.
Yeah.
Does it impact your
It's social?
social?
It does.
Yes, you can't go
can't go
nowhere.
I don't got no money.
You get the point. The bottom line is all of these are interrelated because one impacts all of them. So it's so important for us to be mindful of all of them because they do interrelate with each other, And there's a fun activity that I usually do in some of my workshops is, as I said, how well does your wheel turn? But basically it gives people, they do have a self-assessment in terms of these eight areas in their lives, and they connect the dots. So some people's wheels is like all over the place.
As you're talking about this, I went to this when you first started this workshop. And so how funny is it now? That must have been like what? Over 5 years ago?
Oh God, about 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And just to think where I am now with this whole, optimum health, a lifetime journey for the whole mind, body, and spirit, it comes right full circle back to where you were.
Exactly.
I'm just like, wow, we're like so on the same page in that whole health thing. It's just, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
But I think that the key piece is just being mindful. I think it's very important for us to become more self-aware.
Yeah.
And as I say often every day is that it's not that we lack information. It's that we're on information overload.
It is a lot of information.
But we're not doing anything.
But we're not. Yeah. And I think knowledge is power. People have to, anything that you have, whether you said if you have lung disease, cancer, whatever it is, you have to research it. You got to talk to your doctors. You got to talk to people who are experts so that you can understand it. When you understand what you have, then you can work towards healing.
But the action,
what I mean?
some people have the information, but they're not doing the action.
Right.
Not like you, girl.
I'm trying. I tell people every day, it's not perfect.
But it doesn't have to be perfect.
Right, and it doesn't, But, you have to just take a step. And just do it. You can't look at the long term, because if you look at the long term, you get
overwhelmed.
Stressed. Like, oh my gosh, like how much weight do I have to lose? And I tell people, don't even look at it as weight. Just look at it as health. If you think in terms of health, everything else will come easy and will fall in place.
Right.
And we have to be positive. Outlook.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So that positive outlook and that just introspective work, I think it's so important to take introspective work on a continuous basis, because sometimes what's worked for us, what worked for you last year, it ain't working for you now, right? And likewise, right? So and also, no, it's not a perfect journey. There's times that you're going to be taking a step forward and then maybe take a 2-step backward. But guess what? You're not back at the start line, because you have acquired experience, knowledge, etc., that you didn't have before. You know.
And if you fall on your face, you get up and you keep moving.
Exactly.
Just like people have had businesses and they fail and they continue. They just until they get it.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
And I know you had something on LinkedIn the other day about, are we stuck in our past, right? And I said, no, but I'm using my past to help me with my future.
Exactly.
That is so critical too for people to understand.
Exactly. Right? Not what if I did, and just kept, you're like on that treadmill going nowhere. What if stuck in the past? But yes, what happened then? There were good things, although it may not have worked out the way that you planned it. There are good nuggets out of that, and the things that didn't work, it's just saying that I need to tweak things a little bit differently in the future. But don't throw away, I said, the baby with the bathwater or something like that. Look at the whole situation, take out the good from it, and the areas that didn't work, you learn something from it and you move on. But some people, it's like they're dwelling on the past, and next year this time will come and they're still in the same
10
place.
years and people are still talking about things from 10 years ago.
Exactly.
And so they have to get out of that.
Exactly.
That's why I like your books. And we have like 35 seconds left. So I want you to just quickly tell people, what are some of the tips that they need to do in terms of the mental health and where they can reach you.
Okay. So I think the key piece is becoming aware and not just getting information, but really doing some introspective work on yourself. There are a lot of organizations here in New Jersey that can actually help individuals, one of which I'm going to be plugging, sorry, is the Mental Health Association in New Jersey. They have an information and a referral hotline for the entire state. Awesome. It's funded through the Division of Mental Health and Addiction Services.
Okay.
And the main thrust behind that is to actually give people, they have trained individuals on board who will be able to guide you in terms of resources that are available to help you in terms of any challenges that you're having mental health related. And of course, feel free to reach out to me also. I'll be happy to guide you in whatever way, shape, or form I can to help.
Yeah. And just give us your website real quick.
It's www.discoveranewfuture.com.
Awesome. Love you, girl. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
Tons of knowledge. Tons of knowledge. All right, guys. See you soon. Enjoy your day.
Oh, thank you. This was great.
Awesome. Love it.